So in a previous video, I had responded to some criticism about driving your vehicle to events, like muscle cars at the Strip. And I responded about how impractical it was for those cars. Doesn't mean I'm against it. In fact, I think it's really cool if you could pull it off. So the goal in this video is to swap out the 391 Sure Grip that's in the Doorthy, the Belvedere, 66 Belvedere, and drop in an open 276 rear end. That's going to give us a tall gear, freeway gear, where we'll be able to pull the RPMs down, get a decent amount of gas mileage, which it's probably still going to be around 10, but at least our RPMs will be down, and it'll be able to go some distance. So if you bought yourself a third member and you're curious to figure out what gear ratio it has, this is how you can figure out what it is. So this is an 8 3/4 third member. You're going to look. You're going to see numbers on here. Zoom in here and figure this out. So right there, you can see the 6 is kind of not fully stamped, but 2.76, that's a 276 gear. It's an open rear end, doesn't have the Sure Grip. You can see the spider gears here, shows you it's an open rear end. So we're going to get this cleaned up and we're going to throw it in the Belvedere. The first event I want to go to with this car is the Riverside Show and Go. Really cool show, so hopefully there'll be a video after this video kind of taking you guys for a ride to that event. And then what's coming up is the Escondido Cruisin' Grand, which is down in Escondido. It's kind of a haul. It's a little bit of a long haul from my house, probably looking at around 60 miles or so. So, I mean, it's not a terrible distance, but, it's over an hour. If I was taking my Coronet with the 355s, we're probably looking at a tank of gas to get down there and tank to get back. Going down the freeway at 60 miles an hour with the engine rev it at 3,500 RPM or so. Just, building tons of heat, eating up tons of fuel, and it's just not comfortable. So with the 276s in this car, we should be able to just keep the RPMs down and just purr along the road without any issues, not running the engine hard, not building a ton of heat, and making it comfortable to drive that distance. Let's go ahead and go through that right now. There's a lot of dirt in the threaded holes on the yoke, so running a tap through it to clean everything up before I put this in the car. By the way, this is a 1/4 tap. All right, so pulling the third member out is pretty straightforward on a Chrysler 8 3/4. Basically jack up the car, pull your wheels off, pull your drums off, put the car in jack stands, put the car in neutral so that you're able to turn the third member, which I can tell is gonna be a challenge with 391s. It's not easy. Basically, the housing has 5 studs. You access the nuts through this hole that's on the axle flange. So we'll come in here, start to take these out. And then I think it's gonna be easier to rotate this way. Yeah. All right, see this nut right here? It's got a fork attached to it, which locks into the wheel bearing. So these wheel bearings are preloaded. This has got a stock tapered wheel bearing in it right now. It's not the green style bearing. Green style bearings, you don't need this. I think it's just a good idea to make note of, and this is only on one side. The other side doesn't have this. And you take this off, just make note of where you had it. We'll put it right back. Okay. Sometimes you might have fluid that's high enough where it's going to spill out of the axle, so I'm going to put this bucket here in case, or this drain pan here, in case it does drain out, it'll just drop into here. So now, all we got to do is basically pull the axle. This arm for the brake drums kind of gets in the way. I'm being lazy, I don't want to take the brakes apart. Just gonna try to pry it out of the way, like that. Same thing. See how this arm is like just above the flange, so we got to pull this up out of the way like that. Get this out. So the exhaust is a little bit in the way, but basically we got to drop the drive shaft from the third member and then pull all the nuts off the studs from the third member to the housing, and we're going to loosen it, try to crack it loose from the housing so we can drain it out. Okay, I'm going to get it into position here, so I'm going to go put it in park now. Let's go put you in park. This one's 7/16, but I've seen them small. I've seen them 3/8. I want to say I've even seen some step down to 5/16. I'm gonna go put it in neutral. Okay, when I installed this third member, I put 2 gaskets, siliconed it, so it's probably going to be stuck to the housing pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this nut on, I'm going to back it out to where it's about flush, take all the rest of them out, and if it's stuck to the housing, like I'm sure it will be, I'm going to put a jack underneath here and jack this up. That'll break it free from the housing, and then once it's free and it's dumped all its fluid, we can pull it out from there. Go. This is where it gets sketchy. Alright, I like to double up the gaskets because I've put one gasket on before and it's just a little too thin and then it had it leak. So I've always been doubling it up. And something else to make note, when you look at all the bolt pattern, there's going to be 2 that are closer to each other than everywhere else. Those 2 are going to go on the top. I don't think these notches mean anything or do anything. We're gonna go ahead and silicone up both sides. I don't want it to leak.
Chrysler Products V8, 7 1/4 and 8 3/4, 6183, 8 3/4, 57 to 77. Huh. I guess that fits 7 1/4 too. Kind of weird. Here's the two close together. Alright, that's the wrong way. This way. That's one. Got to put this pinion snubber on. Alright, I think I got a nut started. Woo! Okay. I went ahead and got some grade 8 grade 8 nuts, brand new from Ace Hardware. Little impression there, helps it bite down so it doesn't come loose. All right, I got all the nuts cinched down. I'm gonna go ahead and let it tack up, and then I'll tighten it some more. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and put the axles back in. Make sure, this could have been out. Just make sure that that fork is in that groove before you tighten it. All right, now we're gonna cinch down, tighten down all the nuts on the third member. I'm not gonna tighten it all the way down because I don't want to bind it. Just gonna probably bring it to about right there and put it in neutral. rotate this, get the other side started, and then I can tighten it all down. Got the third member changed, axles back in, drive shafts back in, drums are back on. We're gonna let the silicone dry overnight before we put gear oil back in it. Then we'll put gear oil back in it and we'll take her for a drive. Gonna change the back wheels too. And I might, this car was kind of stink bugging, and I'm gonna switch back to the black rims to match the front and go with the dog dish caps. These tires are about the same height as the BFGs, which means it's gonna be stink bug still. So I think if those 1-inch blocks are where I put them, I'm gonna drop this 1 inch in the back before I put the tires back on. We'll do all that tomorrow. I'm curious how it's gonna do down the freeway. I'm kind of excited because I know it's just gonna fly, you know? And then we'll be ready for the show and go in Riverside, California this Friday. All right, it's day 2. We let the silicone dry overnight, so should be good by now. I went into O'Reilly's and got some gear oil. So I bought some Lucas 7590. You know, I would have shot for 8090, but the 8090 they had was like a cheap brand. So the only good brand stuff they had was this Lucas, and they had some Royal Purple. And the Royal Purple, it had the differential additive, which we don't need for this. This stuff was like $1 cheaper. It's kind of like flip a coin, you know. So I ended up with the Lucas. Now to change it, or to fill the differential on a Chrysler 8 3/4, you come over to the passenger side and there's like a, I think you can see that, but there's basically a plug right here. It's just got a square head on it. You just take a crescent wrench and, you know, knock this guy off. I already pre-trimmed this. This thing has a seal on the top, and you got to cut the top off. And we just squirt it all in there. Oh, excuse me. Exhaust is kind of in the way, so found a piece of 3/8 hose. So we're gonna use that. So if you're wondering how much an 8 3/4 holds, it's about 2 quarts. So I've just got 2 quarts here. What you're gonna wanna do is basically fill this guy up, and if we had like say a gallon we were pumping in here, then you would fill it up till where it just starts to, you know, pour out. That's basically the full line, is the bottom edge of this hole. So it may not spill out because I'm putting exactly 2 quarts in here. So if that's the case, you basically want to reach your finger into the hole and touch the top of the fluid. So basically the fluid level should be pretty close to the top edge of, or the bottom edge of the hole here. So if you can reach your finger in and touch it, then you know you're full. Reach your finger in there. See how wet it is? All right, good. We got gear oil. We are done with that. Next task, drop blocks.